Oh man, I lost the media assets. Oh wait, I gotta go down and find it. Where
Do
is
do
the
do
intro
do do
button?
do 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 do. Bow, bow.
I got it. I found it, guys. Holy crap, dude! You don't even know this yet, but the Austin housing market is down 50%. It's crashing. It's crashing all around us. Did you not know this? Come on, dude. You're in the realm of real estate. You had to have known this. Guys, my name's Chris. I'm a real estate broker associate in Dripping Springs, Texas, just outside of Austin. That guy is Steve Babcock. He is a mortgage loan originator in Lago Vista, Texas, also just outside of Austin. We've been doing, dude. We've been doing this show for like 4.5 years, 5 years,
And
5
really
years,
fun. Yeah.
4.5 years. It's been a
Yeah.
blast.
Since COVID, basically.
Yeah, so 4.5 years. That's the crazy thing. And what we do on the show, guys, is we talk about housing and mortgages and economics. Try not to do too much politics, but since it's after 5 on Monday, we also have tasty beverages. My friend, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking water again. Sorry, sir.
Dude, I ran all the way in the house so that I could feel
Good
a
for you,
whiskey.
man. Good for you. I'm just
I'm
taking it
drinking
easy
water
right
next
now.
week. I'm drinking water next week. Guys, the idea behind this show is Steve and I were sitting around one day at a restaurant drinking a beer, and we were like, you know what would be fun? Let's do a live show that's like sitting around and drinking a beer with us, where we just say what's on our mind and talk about the topics of the day.
The, the market was pretty crazy at the time. Yes.
Yeah, it was nuts, and so it's just evolved or devolved, if you will, into this. And so if you've got questions, put them in the comments. If you've got thoughts, put them in the comments. If you think Steve's an idiot, put that in the comments. If you think I'm an idiot, keep that crap to yourself. Um, just the way I feel. Let let's get into this. Let's get into this Austin housing market. This is from Newsweek. Okay, I lied a little bit, but look at the title. Look at the headline.
Austin home price drops. What, one house? Are they talking about one house?
Guys, on this show, we love headlines because they're so freaking misleading. One house, Newsweek, a global syndication led with this.
One person fell on subway today, so all subways must be banned worldwide.
Oh, I'm going to drink on that. Oh, yeah. Cheers, by the way.
Falling on subway deaths equal 100% for the day of today.
Overall home prices in Austin have decreased in recent months, with median home listing price down 7.1% year over year. You know why they did listing price down 7.1% in
Because it
January?
was more than sold price.
Yep. As of December, the median price sat at 585.
Yeah.
Yep.
Johnson, those numbers aren't good enough. Show me something worse.
Show me the terrible nature of real estate right now.
Make it bigger.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I'm not going to go into this all that much, but I do love this iconic Austin penis sign. You've seen that sign, right?
Oh, many times. Yes. Yeah.
If you've never been to Austin, guys, this is South Austin looking forward or looking straight up to downtown. There's the Capitol right there. Remember when the Capitol was the tallest building in Austin and they wouldn't let anything else be built? Yeah, those are the good old days.
I actually heard when I moved here that the Capitol wasn't as big as the Capitol in DC, so they raised it and made it bigger. Is that
Yep.
true?
It's the only one in the United States that's taller than the Capitol in DC. That's a
Okay.
fact. Everything's
Cool,
bigger in
man.
Texas. Everything's everything's bigger in Texas, and it's also the only state flag that can fly at the same height as the U.S. flag. On flagpoles, they're allowed to be the same height. That's called leverage, man. That's negotiating when they want to bring you in. That's what that is. Okay, let's move on to a couple of other things here. I do want to talk about this one. 4 things to know about Austin's housing market in 2025. This is very short, and I think Steve will be able to add some good context here. Let me blow this up so we can actually see it. All right. So here's the thing. Housing experts see predictable mortgage rates, a steady supply of inventory, and consistent sales trends in Austin's future. Okay. Predictable, steady opportunity. How do I get rid of that? Oh my God. Predictable, steady opportunity. Those are Unlock MLS housing economist Dr. Claire Knapp. Claire works for the Austin Board of Realtors, by the way. That's what Unlock MLS is. Used to describe Austin's housing market this year at the Austin Board of Realtors headquarters. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the capital city this year, here's what to expect. Predictable mortgages. Knapp says mortgages are likely to stay in the 6% range during the first half of the year and might dip to 5% later in 2025. How do you feel about that, Mr. Babcock, being a mortgage loan originator?
You know what's funny is I've actually been reading a lot about how economists have been predicting in the past and then what actually happens. And the overall consensus is that economists don't predict any more than a month into the future, even if they say they do. Um, and even if they are predicting, it's usually not even a month into the future. It's usually reading what happened the last week and predicting the same thing will happen in the next week, which is just very interesting when you really boil it down.
Yeah.
But anybody who's really doing the numbers, and I have not drawn out all the numbers because, quite frankly, I don't understand everything Trump is doing.
No.
But those that claim to understand what he's doing, that have drawn down, written down exactly what's happened or what is going to be happening here, the ones that have really done the math, not the ones that are just doing the fear mongering, have explained that there will be a mini recession, like a month or two long, and that after that things will be realigned in a radical way. And I've also been reading that we should find out something about this in the next week or two. So who knows? But I've been very wrong on that front before.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I don't see rates ever dipping underneath 4% again. I just don't.
I don't either. About the only way, but think about last time they were down that low. The only reason they were down that low is because they were artificially
Right.
suppressed.
Right. When things are good, like really good in an economy, 5% should be about your rate. Right. I mean, give or take plus or minus, a half a percent. Right. But 5% is typically a really good interest rate. The average was 7 point something. Right.
Yep.
Historically. And if you go overseas and then compare those interest rates to ours, excluding Japan, which is a whole nother conversation, because if you just look at their rate and say, what about their rate? Well, you don't know the last, 40 years of their history, right? But
Yeah.
um, long story short is, even the Bible says 10%, right, is a good rate for your people that you borrow from. To have rates at 5% is just outstandingly good.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that great when we've had rates at 2.5 or 3, right? But again, exactly what Chris said, or you said, Chris, whatever, right? third person. They were artificially kept low. The government was on purpose buying the bonds, which then drove the market price in a different direction than it normally would have gone, which caused rates to go down. That's just the simplest way of explaining it.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to offload those bonds. So when they're selling the bonds, obviously the exact opposite thing is happening. And so that's why rates are higher. You know, they could buy them again, but that's going to be a huge government intervention. I don't know if we can afford that again with our inflation. But go
I
ahead.
don't
So
think either. And it's pretty obvious at this point. It seems like this presidency is going to be um, staking its entire claim on cutting government spending.
look,
And
to try to
so,
be apolitical, I would say, regardless of how you feel about, let's say, Elon Musk,
yeah,
he may be destroying his company by hanging on to his convictions, to what he believes. So
yeah,
so I would go on a limb and say, at the bare minimum, he's doing something that he feels he needs to do.
yep,
Right. And so I don't know, man. We're gonna have a different country in a year or so. We almost have
yeah.
a different country now.
We do. I one thing sticks out to me about number one, and you and I've talked about this, is that okay, predictable mortgage rates. Okay, because last year they were all over the place. Last year, the beginning of the year, they were, I think, a half percentage point higher than they are now. And then in July, they dropped down into the fives and then shot back up by the end of August up to again where they are higher than they are now in the 7.25 range. So they were all over the friggin' place. And you and I've talked about it. We don't have to rehash why that happened, but
You know,
it's they're talking that oh, we may be predictable now.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I don't think there's any such thing as predictable mortgage rates. And if you were to
No.
have predictable mortgage rates, what you're really talking about is probably a CBDC, which would be a central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
And no one knows. Okay. When reality comes, everybody that knows is on E-Trade. Okay. And they're not talking. So,
Right.
nobody knows what's really going to happen. But mathematically, introducing a CBDC should actually raise interest rates. It should not lower them. It could, but probably won't. Um,
Well, but what I was talking about was more about if somebody's saying that the rates are going to be predictable. To me, what they're saying is that overall volatility is calming down. That's not meaning that the rate, you're going to be able to predict the rates, but it just feels like everybody's going, okay, things are calming down a little bit. It'll be a little bit more predictable. Anyway, just kind of stood out to me. Also going to talk about consistent home prices and sales. Active listings in Austin were up 15% in 24. Knapp said healthy inventory is expected to carry over into 2025. We've seen that already. Home sales and prices will probably remain flat, but Knapp emphasized the prospects may still be hesitant to buy in 2025 as sellers aren't willing to reduce listing prices. If sellers are really willing to meaningfully adjust their pricing expectations, we could see sales increase more. That's an interesting thing, though, right? Because what are you saying? That, okay, sellers have unrealistic expectations? Well, they're the ones that are going to decide what they want to sell their house for. It's not buyer expectations. If a buyer doesn't buy their house, that's fine. The sellers don't have to drop it. So that's an interesting statement to me.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Keep going, man.
More opportunities for buyers. Knapp also noted recently increased inventory in housing market gives buyers more options. That's true. And guys, our inventory is higher now. And it's funny up here, I'll go back, that she said a healthy, where is it? A healthy inventory is expected to carry over. Okay, I don't know if it's healthy, but I think 2025 is going to be a year in which we see more options and more inventory available to buyers, Knapp said. I don't think we're
Well,
necessarily going to see the same level of growth as we did in 24, but I think we're going to relatively maintain our level of inventory.
well, I'll tell you, you just said you didn't know if it was healthy, but I'll tell you when it was unhealthy was when we started this show. When people were throwing
Oh,
down
yeah,
almost $100,000 over asking on a
that
$350,000 house.
great point. That is a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
That's unhealthy.
Um, and I had something that somebody, I don't know if I just caught it in passing that somebody was talking on a TV show or if I read it. But it's one of those things that gets lodged into the back of your head and it pops up from time to time. And it reminds me. So right now, the median sales price of houses in Austin is down, right? And I think it's down.
Depending on when you're looking at the chart, I think that's up like 3% over the last year. Didn't you just show me that last
Well,
week?
and I should have finished that. Down from the peak, the COVID peak.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, sure. Fine. Yes.
And it's down like, I don't know, 15%. Call it 15%.
You mean when rates were like in the twos? Yeah, yeah. We're down from there. Yeah, homes aren't as cheap as they were.
Well, but here's the thing that's interesting is why? Why are sales prices down? And what this, again, article or person mentioned that it kind of stuck out to me was, well, there's a lot of new construction going on right now. And what's new construction focused on? Production construction. The lowest price point they can do. That's why you're seeing all the construction in Taylor and Hutto and Elgin and Manor and Bastrop and San Marcos all over there. So production builders are putting out as much entry level housing as they possibly can. And then they're buying down interest rates to absurdly low levels right now. And they're giving you a crap ton of incentives to go buy that house. So what's going to happen to the overall median price point? If
So,
that's the
what's funny about that is what I've been noticing about the people who are shopping with the new builds is that slowly here, but pretty consistently, we are now able to start competing with the new builds.
interesting.
The block financing they had, in 2020, 2021, when things started getting bad, 2022, They're running out in in a lot of cases. So like in my own neighborhood, there's a sign which is done illegally. I won't report you. I probably should,
Should.
especially since I'm mentioning it on the show. But they have a sign that says rates as low as 3.99%. Okay,
Oh, really?
well, we don't ever want to quote a rate on the show because when we do, I am then required by law to also include an APR and then several
Right.
other things. And so we just avoid talking about what the actual rate is in certain situations. We just try to avoid it like the plague. You know, if I'm quoting something, if we're reading something, no problem. But if I'm like, the rates at my company are, I better not finish that with a number, right?
Right.
And driving out, they have none of those things. But they do have a rate, so that's very illegal. Can't do it. They can get in big trouble for it. And the funny part is when you look at the details, their 3.9 interest rate, which sounds great, which is really actually 3.99 on paper, which let's just call it 4 for what it is, right?
Yeah.
The 4% is a 2-1 buy down. So it's actually a 6% rate when all is said and done.
APR.
And correct. But then the APR, which I don't know, but I'm guessing from what I've seen, would be much higher than the six
Oh,
percent rate,
I
which
see what you're
means
saying. It's a
they're
2-1. So by the third year, you're back up at
they're
current day rates.
baking in fees. They're using money to give you a temporary reduction in rate when they could be buying your rate down permanently or saving that money right up front. What we've actually started telling people to do is ask your builder to show you the price of the home without any incentives. No
Yeah.
one's doing this. It doesn't make any sense to do this. See what they do. See what they do. And if you don't like how dishonest they are, you can always come to me and I will help you out in a very ethical way. I promise. We'll take care of you.
I mean,
Sorry, keep
look,
going here.
when you say you're going to help out in an ethical way, try not to attach the maniacal laugh.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I think it's ridiculous what they've been doing, and during the peak when they were canceling
Yeah,
people's
dude. Yeah,
contracts to resell the home for like 100,000 more to the highest bidder. Man, I part of me is
it's
bitter, so
horrible.
that might have been an evil laugh. Like,
No, I
leave
get
them,
it.
come back
I
to
get
me.
it.
Yes, yeah, could have been. Yes.
All right, let's wrap this up and we'll get on to the one that you wanted to go into. Nat said Austinites. Oh, before I go back to that. So think about that for a second. If people that are in their houses are not selling their houses, that means that these new builds that are built for a less amount to get that first time home buyer or that low cost product, it's gonna force down the median prices in Austin, regardless of what happens with the rest of the project. So now
Actually,
when I see these numbers now about the median prices being down, I've got to go in and see what the ratio is of new homes that are being built or being sold versus old, and see if it's enough to actually move the needle on it. I've really
interesting. I'd love to see that. You know, that
yeah,
one of the prescribed solutions to solving the housing crisis and lowering prices is easy. You just immediately double the housing supply. Okay, so
yeah.
obviously that's not easy, but if we had double the houses here, well, then your home would not be worth what it is today, right? And so, hey, man, if they're building a bunch of houses, eventually, yes, they will lower. If they can do it fast enough, they will lower the overall price of homes.
And,
But
when you say that, I think I'm going to start using a different terminology.
actually, I like that term the most out of anything you said so far on the show.
Phraseology. Yeah, I like that.
It's the best
Um,
phraseology I've heard.
you know, people typically, you'll say, well, a home is worth whatever buyer's willing to pay. But I don't like that. I think going back to what I saw earlier, I think your house is worth whatever you're willing to take for it. If you're not willing to
Well,
take
both, right?
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
but
I'm
if you're
willing
not
to
willing
take
to
$2
take,
million for my house, but it's only worth
that's right.
half a million, right?
Well, and so, okay, then that means you'll sell it next year or the year after or the year after.
Or the
You
decade
don't have
after.
to
Yes.
sell it. It's only worth what you're going to take for it. Just saying. Um, man, I'm kind of like Confucius today. Stability within the market. Knapp said Austinites can use the pattern of balance and reliability to make more informed decisions around buying and selling this year. Okay. 2025 really will be a year in the Austin housing market that is defined by stability, predictable levels of inventory, relatively consistent mortgage rates, and consistent expectations around year over year changes. That's a
Really?
man. That's a mouthful.
Hey, let's just say he's correct.
That's a
And all
she.
these other naysayers
How
out
dare
there are
you assume
completely
her
wrong.
pronouns?
Hmm?
How it's a she. How dare you assume her pronouns?
Oh, sorry, Nap.
No, it's funnier because the way I said it, we both assumed pronouns, so it's fine.
Well, when you
That's
were reading it, it sounded like a man.
well, it's because I've got a deep voice.
That's my defense.
Guys, if you've never seen this show, we're not politically correct, so get over it. Okay.
Yeah. We're not offensive though, right? I didn't know genuinely that she was a she. Sorry.
It was a they. Okay. You were saying, my friend?
I think we should go to that next article.
So I purposely queued this article up next. Are you ready?
Oh, is this the one that was the surprise for me, or have you already done that one?
No, the surprise was Austin housing market dropping 50%.
Yeah, you mean one house in Austin that had to
Yeah,
sell really fast. Okay, yeah, keep going.
exactly. The next real estate gold mines, 15 housing markets set to surge over the next decade. What do you think number one is?
Really? Are you serious?
Oh my gosh, dude, you can't make this up. MSN, when was this? 2 weeks ago. This is 2 weeks ago. So this one's a little older.
Aren't they just telling us how bad it was?
It's terrible here. It's absolutely horrible. 50% reduction in prices.
I did hear today that they found bombs at the Tesla dealership. Did you read about that?
I didn't know which Tesla dealership they were talking about.
Well, they said the Austin Tesla dealership, like there's only
That was
one.
probably the one right over here by me, the new one. It's at the Y.
I don't know.
No, it wasn't bombs, Stephen. It was incendiary devices. Come on.
Oh, well,
That's the headline I read.
someone used the wrong
and look,
verbiology when I was reading about it.
Speaking of, in addition to the tech boom, yikes. Okay, that was bad. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the one that you wanted to. All right.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah. It's fine. All right. Yeah.
Moving on.
Serious note. This is becoming really, really prevalent right now.
Now, last I checked, this can't happen in Texas, correct?
No, it can.
Eh.
The way they're doing this, it can. Guys, there's a lot.
Well, the way they're doing this, well, hold on now.
They're faking deeds, they're faking birth certificates, they're faking driver's licenses. How is a title company or a realtor supposed to know if all the documentation they're given is like looks legit? Now these people falsified notaries, but I'm going to show you another one. Here's the other one, and I'm not going to go through this. FBI joins a fight to stop ongoing deed fraud in Maine. This is a big thing in Maine now.
Let me just throw something out there real fast. When I read the article, it seemed pretty clear to me that someone involved in the transaction originally, which was the realtor, which is what I was told, right? It would have said something about the lender if there was a lender, right? At least that's what I'm assuming. The realtor involved had to then reprovide that driver's license. And Chris, is there anything that says you have to collect someone's driver's license? No. Guess what? There is for me. Maybe not a license. That's probably the most used form of ID, right? But you can do other ones.
Yeah.
Right. But when the lender collects those things, they're under lock and key. And if they're accessed, there's like literally there's a flag in a system that they were accessed, their emails, anything like that. Most lender systems are so highly technical today that they wouldn't have made it past the first house. Now, that also means you should do what I've been telling you people to do from the very beginning. You start with the lender, then you go to the realtor. You don't start with the realtor. Most people do it backwards. They go to the realtor, they say, "What can I afford?" The realtor says, "Probably more than I'm telling you." And then you have to go to a lender who tells you, "Sorry, I hate to shatter your dreams, but you can afford half that." And then you start shopping other lenders until you find one that says, "Oh yeah, I can do what the lender or the realtor wanted." And then you go buy a house and you lose a bunch of money because you're really not qualified for that much and you're shattering your dreams by doing this in the wrong order. You go to a lender first. The realtor doesn't need to know anything about you if the lender says, "Hey, man, they're qualified and ready to go." Boom! All the questions the realtor has for the first 15 minutes are out the window. Now you're on the second half of the phone call. What can I do to help you? Happy to help you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm finished now.
I've got no.
These people could have avoided all this by going with their lender. That's all I'm saying.
I've got zero additions to this. He's right. Start with the lender. But here's the thing. This is what I was saying. This guy had a fake driver's license that looked evidently just like the Massachusetts driver's licenses. And the owner of it is living in Texas. They bought this land. They were going to build their retirement house in was it Nantucket maybe? Anyway, somewhere up in the Maine area. And all of a sudden he's getting calls. His house is listed on the market, listed for sale. So what's happening, and we'll go into the article here in a little bit, but what's happening is realtors are getting calls and they're like, hey, I live in Texas, which this guy does. My wife just got sick. This was going to be our retirement property. We need to sell it to pay bills. I can't make it up there. Can you help me sell this property? We know it's worth $800,000, but I've got to get it sold quickly. You know, we'll take 500 for it. I just have to get this thing sold. And from the realtor's perspective, you're sending me your identification. I'm checking the tax records. Everything matches. The addresses match. It tells me your address in Texas. I don't have anything else I can do. That's, I can't pull the data that Steve can pull on you. Title companies are the same way. If somebody shows up with an accurate driver's license, with a picture, with a deed, and everything shows that it matches, the title company is going to do the transaction.
Imagine if the homeowner were to give a quick call to the title company and had been informed somehow and say, hey, it looks like somebody's trying to sell my house and that's not me. How quickly this would stop.
Yep.
Not that it's that simple, but one of the keys in this fraud, the key things is that they have to keep this from you.
That's right.
If you find out about it, you can shut it down before it finishes. And I actually had a client that emailed me today, before you sent this article to me, told me that she found her home on realtor.com as a foreclosure, and she is still living there. It's not being foreclosed on. She's like, what the hell? Called the mortgage company, smart. They said, all right, we're going to put a flag on your file that you're not selling your home. You're not under foreclosure. This sounds like, if there's anything fishy going on, we know you called us. We know we're good. And then she called realtor.com. They launched an investigation. That'll make those people go away, right?
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to get through this with the mortgage company being told, what's been happening, right? There's absolutely no way it could be done.
Right.
Now, what are we even talking about? We should read the stupid article first before
Yeah.
people just
And we
assume
will.
they know.
So this is what, as I read through this, I'm reminded that in every profession, there are absolute freaking morons. And all the entire crew here is morons.
Yeah,
And I'll point out what
this
I'm
is
talking about along the way.
this is the reason for warning labels, right? In general. And like,
Yes.
why when I
Yes.
go to the airport, there's a chainsaw in the suggested items you shouldn't take on the plane, right? Because somebody effing did
Somebody
it.
tried to do it. That's right.
Just unbelievable. Keep
Okay.
going.
4 men, 2 from Southeast Queens, 1 from Long Island, and another from New Jersey, along with 3 companies, have been indicted by a Queens grand jury for allegedly orchestrating a deed fraud scheme that led to the theft of homes in Kew Garden Hills, Jamaica Estates, and Queens Village. Carl Avinger, these guys, and the girl, whoever it was, I think Autumn Valeri, surrendered to the Queens District Attorney detectives on Tuesday morning and were arraigned in the Supreme Court on a 47-count indictment charging them with grand larceny, criminal possession of stolen property, conspiracy, and other related crimes for allegedly stealing the homes from their rightful owners. Partnership ownership or property ownership is a fundamental right. My office works to protect that right, blah, blah, blah. According to the indictment and the investigation, in 2023, Avinger and Valeri, who is a licensed real estate agent acting in concert with 2 others, filed false documents in the New York City Department of Finance.
By the way, I'm sorry. Keep going.
It recorded a deed transfer of a home on the 208th Street from a 76-year-old woman who's the rightful property owner to Schuler Management Company owned by Ray. He's one of the people. Again, morons. Why would you transfer the ownership of a property that's easily traceable to somebody? What the hell is wrong?
You could literally have a fall guy. You could make a fake name. They didn't do that.
That's fair.
The thing I can't quite understand about this is that they did it in an LLC. And any lender, I mean any lender that has been doing this long enough knows that as soon as someone says, "Hey, man, can I buy it and put it in an LLC?" You go cross-eyed. You're like, I don't know." Until you run into that, you don't know what you're talking about, right? And then you do run into it, and you realize that it can be done, but there's a bunch more hoops to jump through. It
Lots.
adds more layers to everything, and it. I wouldn't say it's a red flag, but it's at least a yellow flag to the lender almost immediately. Oh, you're doing what with the property, right? Because most clauses on your mortgage clause state it's got to be sold to an individual. Yeah, I want to go after John Smith, not the LLC of
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
right? Sorry, keep going though. So
No, you're
this
good.
just added complexity. I feel like we're not being told everything about this story, but
Yeah, it seems like they're keeping some of the facts out, but one of the purported signatures on the deed was from a former co-owner who died in 2016. The
right,
notary
but that again, that should have. So I guess a co-owner that originally went in the home, right, or a former owner, a
no, it says
former.
co-owner of the home, so I'm guessing somebody who owns it with this 76-year-old
Okay,
or
all
owned
right.
it, maybe a husband or significant other. I don't know.
So the mortgage
Um,
company should know that person's dead. If they don't, you're supposed to tell them. That's fine.
the notary signature on the transfer was also found to be fraudulent, so they had a fraudulent notary. Um, Avenger, Valeri, and Ray filed false document with the city's Department of Finance recording a deed transfer in Kew Gardens from a mother and daughter who are the rightful owners to Cubic Ray Cubic, which Ray, again, the guy in the deal, owns. You put your name in an LLC that you're going to falsely transfer a property into. You're a moron. The signatures on the deed were forged to represent the signatures of both the mother and the daughter, so forged signatures, who confirmed they never signed the document. The notary signature was also fraudulent.
Do you think that gender politics has something to do with this? Because if you have a mother and a daughter, but two men show up, I mean, I don't understand. You had to have a mother and a daughter, right? They have to show up. They have to sign. Oh, I guess you're saying that. Hold on,
It was signed.
the notary was fraudulent. You said so.
Yeah,
What they're doing a mobile notary on a.
I'm telling you, man.
This is why I'm thinking you can't do this in Texas as I'm reading it because we have so many more protections in place than
But
they
we
seem
have
to over
multiple
here.
parties. If somebody shows up with documentation saying they are who they say they are, how are you going to stop it? Even if you show up to a title company, all they require is a driver's license. And some title companies will ask for a second form. If you can document a driver's license, why can't you fake a birth
Was this
certificate?
a cash deal or was there a mortgage involved? See, that's
It doesn't say.
from my perspective, as soon as you get the mortgage involved, it's there are lenders that get tricked by these people. Sure, okay, sure. We read about it every year. We're
Yeah,
briefed on it. But and you got to watch. Knock on wood, right? I hope I've never been tricked, right? I'm not talking trash right now, right? Like nobody should do. But
yeah, right.
at the end of the day, man, there's so many protections. This is tough. This is
Yeah.
hard to do what they pulled off. It'd be easier for
Yeah.
them to practice squatting laws, I think, and resell the house than it would be to do it this
In
way.
some states, yeah. And by the way, if you're in Texas, guys, we don't have squatters' rights. If there's a squatter in your property for 20 years, it doesn't matter. Kick them the hell out. Call the sheriff; they'll get rid of them. We don't have squatters' rights in Texas. And I'm gonna. We don't have to finish the rest of the article. We understand what it's saying. Just wanted to bring this to your attention, especially if you own property in other states. Um, you know, maybe run a Zillow search every once in a while for your property. Set up a calendar reminder to run it every 6 months just to make sure nobody's trying to sell your stuff.
Do you think this would have put their property on Zillow? These guys?
I don't know.
I don't think they would have done that at all.
Well,
Now I'm
but
actually
again,
I'm part of
going
Home Title Lock
yeah. Well,
only
yeah, it's
because I got scared enough into buying it in the first place. But then I read that I should probably get out of it because I don't need it anymore in
yeah.
Texas. But maybe I was wrong.
Here's the thing. I mean, the guy in Maine, it was listed with a realtor, and that's going to be on Zillow. Yeah, listed on Zillow. And it's a lot easier if it's a raw piece of land, and that's the bigger thing is raw land, because if you've got raw land in another state. My parents own land in Angleton, which is like 3 hours from Shiner and a couple hours south of Houston, or an hour south of Houston. They own land there since the time I was 10 years old, and the last time they went is when I was 10 years old, and they bought it. It just sat there. It's raw land, so there's no reason to go check on it. So yeah, again, the whole point behind this is if you own land somewhere, if you know somebody that owns land somewhere, Tell them to check on it every
Yeah,
once
but
in a while.
this one wasn't land. This was a house.
Yeah, these were houses. The ones in New York were houses. And they were just trying to confiscate the deed. And if you search deed scams or stealing deeds on Google, it's all over the place. Like this is a real thing. So
Hmm.
anyway, obviously a little bit harder if you're an owner occupant, but again, anybody with investment properties or whatever, yeah, real thing. All right, man, guys, we do it every Monday. This one was fun. I enjoyed today. See you next week.
I need to research more about this in Texas. Yes, we
Yeah,
will.
now you're scared. I know.
No, I want to know more. There's got to be a way to protect yourself easily.
You would think, yeah, you would think. But all right, guys, we will see you next Monday. Steve, thank you, sir.